everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. We've got a prototype preview for you today of a game called Winds of Fortune from Safehaven Games. Now, this game is currently getting ready to go up on Kickstarter, and like I said, this is a prototype preview. So keep in mind that all the components you see, all the artwork, all of that is still in the process of being made. Much of what you're going to see here, if not all of what you're going to see here, is placeholder artwork, placeholder components, just for the prototype itself. The Kickstarter is coming up in August, I believe, so it may not be up yet when this video goes up, which means you won't be able to find a link in the description. Once the Kickstarter goes up, I will put a link to it in the description. And of course, this video probably is going to be over there on the Kickstarter, so maybe you've already found it if you're watching the video. I don't know. Either way, let's go on and get into Winds of Fortune. During the golden age of sail, the Earth endured a catastrophic meteor strike, thereafter referred to merely as the Great Cataclysm by its survivors. The impact caused a rapid destabilization within the tectonic structure of the planet, plunging the majority of the Earth's continents into the sea and awakening ancient beasts from the ocean's depths. A small remnant of humanity, hailing largely from seafaring nations, miraculously survived the event, and those with the most powerful navies soon came to control what little land remained. Now fleets of warlords, pirates, and strangely mutated creatures roam the high seas, seeking to exploit the weak and further their own interests. The Holy Craftsmen are an order of fanatical monks who view the Great Cataclysm as divine judgment for the many sins of mankind. Indeed, they look forward to a second cataclysm, which is said to mark the end of all things, when the faithful may be reunited with the Creator. They are exceptional shipbuilders and are extremely dedicated to their craft, viewing their world-renowned work as an act of worship to the Creator. The Cult of the Reef are mysterious and secretive worshippers of the ocean and all that resides there. They saw the Great Cataclysm as the heralding sign of their primal god's arrival, who will soon rise up from the depths to drag the rest of the Earth's land down beneath the waves. Their ships are living things constructed through the strictly controlled growth of coral reefs, and their fleets are often seen accompanied by strange and terrifying beasts. Now, Winds of Fortune is a standalone product. It comes with 2 starter decks for each of those 2 factions I just mentioned a moment ago. And it also has booster cards that can be used to modify the decks that it comes with, or that you can tear the starter decks apart and build your own decks using those booster cards in combination with the starter deck cards. And there are rules in the back of the rule book explaining how to do that. I won't get into detail on building decks in this preview. This is going to be more for the play of the game itself. Okay, now let's take a look at the board itself. Here you've got the firing lanes. You can see there's 3 different firing lanes that match up with the firing lanes on the other board, your opponent's board. And then you've got the range bands, so long range, medium, and short. After that, we've got the location spaces over here. And then here's where you'll build your flagship, the aft hull and bow of your flagship. And then over here we've got the treasury with unspent doubloons, and here's where your spent doubloons go. Alright, now let's take a look at a typical card. You've got the name of the ship up here. Obviously this one's called the Ghost Ship. Here you've got the cost, which is how many doubloons it's going to take to deploy the ship, in this case 3. Then you've got the type, and in this case it's a ship. It could also be a monster or an emplacement or something like that. Any vulnerabilities, right here you can see this ship is vulnerable to fire. I believe mainly the 2 that you'll see is either fire or lightning at this point. Then you've got the strength of the ship right here, which is how much damage it deals, the health of the ship, and the initiative, which becomes very important when there's ship-to-ship battle. You've got the faction symbol right here if the ship belongs to a specific faction. And then right here you have any special abilities that the card's going to have. And just so you can see how a non-ship card might be slightly different, you can see you've got the name up here, and this is an effect. That's the type of card it is, the cost, and the ability of the card. So what are some of the types of cards you'll run into in Winds of Fortune? You have ships and monsters, These make up the core of the player's fleet. You have emplacement cards, which are played using the same rules as ships, but usually represent some sort of defensive structure or defensive type of equipment. You have upgrade cards, which are played directly onto ships and upgrade things like the sails, crew, guns, hull, etc. Or if it's for a monster, it's considered a biological upgrade. You have location cards, which are ports of call that are used to service ships, replenish supplies, defend positions, etc. And you have effect cards, which are powerful abilities that can be used at any time by either player. To set up the game, you're going to take the 2 game boards and line up the firing lanes like this. You'll choose a card for your bow of your flagship, the hull of your flagship, and the aft of your flagship. And you'll notice that each of these has a special ability that remains active as long as your flagship, as long as that specific part of your flagship is still intact. It should also be mentioned that you are able to mix and match pieces of flagships to create your own combination. But in the base game with the initial starter decks, they do come with specific pieces for that specific deck, and you're encouraged to use those initially while you are learning the game. Now nearby, you're going to place the Inspire and Demoralize tokens in a pile, the doubloons, and the damage counters, all in a pile within easy reach of both players. Next, you'll choose the first player, which the rules state is the last person to sail the high seas. And the first player gets 2 doubloons placed into their spent doubloons section, and the second player will get 3 doubloons placed in their spent doubloons section. Next, you'll draw up to 5 cards. You'll take a look at them. If there's any you don't want, you'll remove those 2, draw 2 more, add them to your hand, and shuffle these back into the deck. At some points during the video, you may see my hand down like this. Keep in mind that during the game, you actually will have this as in your hand, secret from the other player, but I only have 2 hands, and therefore I'm going to have this open like this so you can see what I've got while I'm manipulating the video. Now when you're playing the game, there are 4 steps to every turn: preparation, refresh, deployment, and action. In the preparation phase, you're going to make a choice. Do you want an extra doubloon, or do you want to draw a card? Now if you choose a doubloon, you're going to just take 1 doubloon and put it into your treasury, not in the spent doubloon section. If instead you choose to draw a card, you simply draw a card and add it to your hand. Now if you choose to take a doubloon, you have that doubloon for the rest of the game. It's permanent. So with that in mind, let's say we're a little later in the game and you have 4 doubloons total, and on your last turn you spent 2, but the remaining 2 stayed in your treasury because they were unspent. So at the beginning of your turn, you then choose to get another doubloon during the preparation phase. It goes into your treasury. You now have 3 doubloons in the treasury. During the preparation phase, you are also able to spend 3 doubloons to draw a card. And in doing so, you now basically have stolen a card, because not only did you get a doubloon, but you also drew a card. Now after the preparation phase, we're then going to move into the refresh phase, where your spent doubloons move back into your treasury. Any depleted ships, any friendly depleted ships, become readied, and you remove, if there are any on the board, an Inspire token from one of your ships, and a Demoralize token from one of the enemy ships. Now what do these tokens do, by the way? An Inspire token is going to add 1 strength, or 1 damage, to your ship. Meanwhile, a Demoralize token is going to take away 1 from your enemy's ship or monsters. And how do you get Demoralize or Inspire tokens on the board? Well, it's going to be through card effects. For instance, with the Terrifying Figurehead, if you have this as your bow of your flagship, once per turn you may pay 1 doubloon in order to place a Demoralize token on an enemy ship in play. So there's lots of different cards that'll have card effects that let you get Demoralize or Inspire tokens into the game. Next we enter the deployment phase. Now let's say I want to play this ship right here, the Goblin Shark. Well, I see it costs 6, so I'll take all 6 of my doubloons, move them over to the spent doubloons section, I then take the Goblin Shark and I choose any of these 3 firing lines in the long range section, and I place it there. Now, on the turn a ship or a monster comes out, it cannot attack that turn. However, it can still move later when that phase comes along. Let's say instead I wanted to play this ship upgrade. Well, you can see it's a crew upgrade for my ship, and if I wanted to play it on the Goblin Shark, I don't have any upgrades on it at all, but specifically I don't have any crew upgrades on the Goblin Shark yet, and so I would slide this card up underneath the Goblin Shark to keep in mind that it is on there, and whatever effect that card has now is on the Goblin Shark. If later I wanted to play Commissar Rain on the Goblin Shark, I would not be able to because I already have the Carpenter over there, which is a crew upgrade, and he is a crew upgrade as well. So instead I'd have to find a different upgrade, maybe for the bow or the sails, and then I'd be able to play that on the Goblin Shark as well. You can play as many upgrades on one ship as you want as long as you don't duplicate the type of upgrade that it is. If I want to play a location card, however, I would, again, pay the 3 doubloons, and then pick one of these location spots. It doesn't really matter which one. The main thing you got to worry about is if you want to move a ship onto that location card to defend it, it has to come from one of the bands next to it, because ships cannot move diagonally unless their card says so. They can only move orthogonally, so the long range band will get you here, medium here, and so on. And as I said before, effect cards can be played on either player's turn, which is just about the only card in the game currently that can do that. This one, Smite, can be used to destroy a target card. You just pay the amount of gold that card had cost. And so it's a good idea to save some of your gold to go up against some of your opponent's cards during their turn. So now we move into the action phase. So what you're going to do is first you're going to activate a ship, and I'm going to activate the Goblin Shark. Now I'm going to declare a target, and you can see that there are no location cards out for my opponent right now. You can only target location cards or flagship cards, and I apologize for the glare there. There we go. And so my Goblin Shark is going to target the aft of the opponent's flagship. Now, he has to do the aft right now because he is in this firing line. That's where the aft is. Now, for instance, if the aft had already been destroyed, which is you flip the card over when it's destroyed, then he would target the adjacent section. If, let's say, this section was destroyed and my Goblin Shark was in the firing line for that section, then he would target whichever section had the higher health. And in this case, they both have 10, so you would choose which one the damage goes to. But that's not where we're at. We are in this firing line right here. So he declares the attack. The opponent then decides, is he going to block it? Because he has a ship available to block. This ship is ready. It's not depleted, so it can block. Or is he going to let the damage go through? Well, let's say he lets the damage go through. Then the damage is 6. Right there, you can see that. And so you would take 2 of these damage counters. And there you go. And you can see that these come 1 on one side, 3 on the other side. There you go. Okay, but instead, let's say the opponent does block, okay? So we're attacking the aft of the ship with the Goblin Shark. Here's a ship that's in the line of fire, and the opponent says, I'm blocking with that ship. So we have to resolve the attack. You can see right here, there's the initiative for the Goblin Shark. It's a 4. Over here, we've got a 3 for the Zealot. All right, now the higher initiative goes first. The 4 is higher, so he's going to deal 6 damage to the Zealot. Zealot only has 2 health. It's dead, and that's the attack. The Goblin Shark is depleted. Now let's say instead we had the Goblin Shark and the Watchman over here. Goblin Shark declares an attack on the aft ship. Okay, the opponent says, I'm blocking with the Watcher. So we got a 4 initiative over here for the Goblin Shark. We have a 4 initiative here. That means they're going to deal damage simultaneously. 6 damage to the 5 health of the Watcher, destroys him. The 5 damage of the Watcher to the 6 damage of the Goblin Shark. The Goblin Shark is still alive, barely. You'll put the damage on there, deplete the Goblin Shark, and the Watcher is dead, goes into the discard pile. But what if instead we had the cuttlefish and the floating fortress? Cuttlefish declares his attack on the aft of the ship. All right, he's got an initiative of 4. The floating fortress has an initiative of 2, and they're going to defend. This player is going to defend with the floating fortress. All right, so he's going to deal 3 damage because he's got the higher initiative, 4. He's going to deal 3 damage to the floating fortress, and you're going to put that on there. You can see he has 10 health though, so he's still kicking. And now he's going to deal his damage back, 4 damage to the cuttlefish. Takes it out because you can see it has 4 health. Now both attacking and defending with your ship will deplete that ship. And likewise, a ship cannot attack or defend if it's already depleted. However, it can still move. So we've got this ship here depleted because it attacked. The Goblin Shark is depleted. You can now decide to move it orthogonally. Now, it obviously can't move over here because you've got the killer crustacean monster right there. It can move up or back this way. And keep in mind, your cards are going to stay on your own board, so once you hit short range, you're not going to move any farther. But anywhere on your own board, you can maneuver that way. Something else to note is that moving itself does not deplete your ship. So for instance, you got the Goblin Shark here, and maybe you realize that probably that dragon is going to attack the next turn, and so you want to be able to block it, so you're going to move the Goblin Shark over here. It's not depleted, which means you'll be able to block on your next turn. Now keep in mind, you cannot move and then attack, and the reason for this is there's a specific order in the action phase, which I just went through. You have to activate the ships first, then you declare your target, and then you declare a blocker as the defender. Then you resolve an attack. After that is when ships deplete for either attacking or defending, and then finally you move ships. So you don't have to do all of those steps, but you do have to do them in order, whichever steps you choose. And finally, the way you win a game is simply by destroying all 3 parts of your opponent's flagship. Every time a part's destroyed, it's flipped over, and the owner of that flagship loses the ability of that card. And when the final one flips over, the opponent wins. Well, there you have it. That's Winds of Fortune coming up on Kickstarter soon. Again, I'd like to reiterate that all the components and artwork you saw are still works in progress. They are not finalized by any means, and I'm sure on the Kickstarter page you'll get a much better idea of what the final artwork is going to look like. I have seen some of the finalized artwork or near finalized artwork, and I have to say, I don't normally get into my opinions on previews, but as far as this artwork goes, it is looking pretty cool, what I've seen so far. And that by itself, I'm pretty excited just about the artwork. So take that for what it's worth. Check the description below, see if I've got a link to Kickstarter. If not, come back a little bit later in August, and then it'll be there. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you liked it. Find me on Board Game Blender every other week. And until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.